Because I'm a bastard. No, I'm joking. Because noodles are really easy to make, and you don't have to do much to judge them up. Anyway, we're live with another episode of BS Busters. Thank you, everyone, for joining us live. Those who are watching later, thank you for watching later. Before we go any further, I would like to have my panelists introduce himself.
It's Kenoshi Abominito here to say, well, get ready for the exposure.
I mean, I guess. I don't know, man. I just work here. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. We've got some interesting stories from interesting people. So this is going to be fun. With that being said, let's dive into it. We've got some good stories on the thing. I guess we should start with Bungie. For those of you who don't know, Bungie, the Halo creators that were bought by Sony a few months ago, or maybe last year, I can't remember. After Microsoft spent money on Bethesda, Sony was like, we ain't got that type of money. Let's buy Bungie.
I'll be right back.
All right. So they bought Bungie, and basically, the word on the street is that the reason Sony bought Bungie is because they're trying to build a live service where they can have recurrent microtransactions and all that type of shit. So, I guess we can get into. I'll read this article first, or just give a. I'll just give a general overview. Basically, Bungie released a new game update that was underwhelming to say the best. All right. The big thing is that Bungie, which is owned by Sony, with apparently it has hundreds of employees, does not have the resources necessary to deliver more than one PvP map per calendar year. Now the problem is that the game went almost 3 years without a new PvP map. So I don't know. I don't know. Personally, I think they were like, shit, we need to get something out. We need to get something out, and they just kind of threw something out there in order to get it out there. That's what I think. Do I have evidence of this? No, but makes sense.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's all right. So, like, basically, they had to get something out there. They put it out there, and it didn't work.
What did Bungie do?
They put out an underwhelming update that has their community angry. Because basically, they put out a half-assed PvP map. Because there was supposed to be one new PvP map every year. The problem is that they functionally had a point in Destiny 2's life cycle where they put out one map in 3 years, which is a far cry between one map every year.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, we don't have the resources. It's like, yeah, but you have hundreds of employees, and you're owned by Sony. Now, Sony ain't got Activision Blizzard money, but they ain't, like, pleading poverty.
Yeah.
And people, fans of Destiny are mad. I can't say I'm not sympathetic with their I can't say I'm not sympathetic with their plight. Because I am.
Yeah, and one of the things they like to do is they like to give you free skins, which look terrible apparently.
Oh yeah, but the
What
premium
is it?
skins look great. The free skins look like shit.
Yeah.
That doesn't. That seems like they don't have an agenda with that, right? Right? There's no agenda there.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, I'm being facetious when I say that. But continue, sir.
Um, let's see. Yeah, it's. And they were talking to people that they shouldn't have these high expectations and all sorts of nonsense. It's just kind of like, really? What are AAA companies smoking these days? Like, I've
Well,
been like this for like the past couple of weeks, where they're just coming out saying,
they
"Yeah,
shitting
don't
on
expect
Baldur's
much
Gate
from
3. They're making excuses for not making good games. I don't know, man.
yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know.
The
Here's
game
what I
over
will
in
say.
California must be really good."
Well, I think Destiny. I think Bungie is headquartered someplace else. But here's what I will say. The more like double A, single A studios come out with games that are punching above their weight, the more AAA games are going to have to reevaluate how they make their games and what they prioritize, what they put money into and resources into. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Yeah, or risk being a dinosaur.
I mean, or, well, I mean, Mark Dara, the guy who used to be like the BioWare producer, broke it down. And he broke it down in a way that should illustrate why Destiny, like Sony buying Destiny, was not a smart move, and I'll explain why when we get to the next topic. That was a nice segue. Segue. So I'm gonna read this because it needs to be understood from the horse's mouth, but it's really good. So this is done by Mark. This is a article from Game World Observer. It's published by Yevgeny Obedkov. Probably Russian or Chechnya or something like that. Anyway, uh, here's the article. History is cyclical, and this is true for the games industry as well. Veteran developer and former BioWare producer Mark Dara has shared his thoughts on companies that repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again when trying to make their own Ultima Online or Destiny. Okay, last month, Dara posted a video on his YouTube channel to discuss what he called a live service trap. In quotes. He recalled how developers and publishers have tried to jump on the MMO hype train ever since the era of Ultima Online and EverQuest. By doing some napkin math, companies made false assumptions that led them to believe that they could succeed in the emerging market. In the 1990s, according to Dara, it worked like this. Ultima Online has 150 to 300,000 active players. If we can just get 10% of that, then we will have 20,000 people playing our game every month. And they are paying $15 a month. So that's 300,000 a month we have to work with to support this game. However, MMOs were always really expensive to develop, and games trying to catch up with market leaders ended up with 2,000 active players or less, so napkin math didn't work, leading to projects shutting down or even failing to launch. Here's my editorial. KOTOR. Sorry, Star Wars The Old Republic. Some lessons were learned, but multiplayer became a big thing in the 2000s, with more companies adding online elements to their games. The reason was that these titles with more, quote, session days used to sell better, were stickier, and had a longer tail. Here's a quote from Mark Dara. Napkin Math said that you needed to get more session days, and the only way that was understood to get more session days was to have multiplayer. So all games must be multiplayer. Single player is dead. What happened? You can't just pivot your single player teams to multiplayer. So you ended up with multiplayer games that were not fully featured. Mass Effect 3! Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect 4. Dragon Age Inquisition. And Dragon Age 2. Fast forward to 2010s, Bungie released Destiny, and then its currently free-to-play sequel, which spawned a looter-shooter boom. Dar noted that it also showed big publishers that a microtransaction-driven live service. It showed big publishers what a microtransaction-driven live service game should look like. So Napkin Math came back, making companies mistakenly believe that they could turn every game into Destiny, or FIFA Ultimate Team, or Fortnite. The mistake is you can only really play one Destiny at a time. You can only do one engrossing live service at a time. So what happens in cases where one game is going to dominate your attention? You end up having a very tall, steep head and a very thin tail because people play where the people are. So these live services tend to be dominated by one winner, 2 or 3 runners-ups, and then a lot of services that aren't really surviving.
Yep.
Paladins from fucking the Borderlands people says hello. As a result, many live service titles just shut down shortly after launch. History repeats itself, and the publishers once again realize that time isn't infinite, and people can't play large games as a service projects at the same time. Can't play 8 large game as a service projects at the same time. As Dar pointed out, games are allowed to be single player again, but that probably won't stop big companies from chasing trends and trying to make as much money as possible. In his video, Dar summarized the main mistakes that happens when devs do napkin math. Underestimating production costs. If you assume that development will cost 2 times what you understand, then in reality it will be 10 times. Forgetting that people have a limited number of minutes in a day. In the live service space, the winner takes all, and the competition for player time is really fierce. Underestimating the cost of content support. To survive, a live service game needs new classes, weapons, maps, or other things depending on its genre. And all this requires experienced teams and tons of resources. Treating live service games development as a linearly growing thing. In fact, the costs are growing exponentially. Companies tend to extrapolate and use only the information they understand, but forget that things work radically different in an area or genre where they have no experience or knowledge at all. In some cases, don't waste the napkins. Use it first for what it was intended to, wiping your face, and leave the napkin math alone. Dar concluded. More details can be found in the full video. Dar also shared previously other stories and insights, including his videos on the development of Baldur's Gate and Jade Empire, or his explanation on why the concept of Bioware magic is a flawed conception. Yeah. So, I would advise, if you're interested in learning about the game industry, go to that, follow this guy, because he's been in the industry a long time, and he's been on some shit, he's been on some good things. And he knows where the bones are buried. But yeah, so you wanna dive in first?
I like the analogy of napkin math, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, look at there's hardly any strategy. It's like, let's put this game out here, and hopefully it makes us a lot of money. And then 2-3 months later, well, it looks like we can't fund this game anymore. Looks like we gotta shut her down.
Yep, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Everyone's chasing that. Everyone's chasing Apex Legends, and whatever the fuck Epic's doing. I forget. Fortnite.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all chasing it, and getting very little out of it.
Nothing was.
And it's just like, when are you just gonna give people what they actually want?
Well, that, and also taking studios that aren't good, like BioWare. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 and Larian Studios showed up. Stop taking studios that are good at making one type of game and then pigeonholing them into some other shit that they're not experienced with. And then acting surprised when the product you get is shit.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, oh man, you mean to tell me that the studio that made Dishonored 2, and Prey couldn't make a co-op looter shooter with vampires? No. it's like shit like that where I'm like, okay.
I mean, it's. I mean, it's like, well, they're developers. They should know how to. It's like, well,
No.
and going from different genre to genre, that's a different. It's a whole mindset tool set that you're gonna need.
That's like someone saying that, okay, you're an athlete, you're a professional athlete. Say you're an NFL player. That means you're also going to be good at boxing. Boxing, while both sports are athletic and they share a lot of the same muscle groups you have to work, the type of athlete you have to be good at boxing is very different from the type of athlete you have to be in order to be good at football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a basketball player trying to box. Or a basketball player trying to be a football player. Like, just because you're an athlete, just because you're a programmer, doesn't necessarily mean you know how to, and you're good at making other types of games.
Yeah.
Like that is a false equivalency.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, like if all you do is code HTML, you're not going to be able to make a fucking game in Unity.
Yeah, and how many people and how many games within the beginning of the year, from like January to March, that came out 3 to 6 months prior, shut down.
Got their servers shut down?
Yeah, it's like every other week I was hearing about this free to play game that was like, oh, we can't fund it anymore. We're done.
I would say every month.
We gotta shut the door.
I would say every month about 2 to 3 games that are free to play, live service, games as a service, shut down because they're expensive. Yeah. Look, if Destiny can't pump out a good map, a good PvP map every year, and that's a year. Even if you factor in the 3 to 4 months of, okay, here's what worked on that map, here's what didn't work on that map. Okay, let's get started on the next thing that they're fucking up on. That's 8 months. Let's say a solid 6 months of development for this map. 2 months of internal testing, and then it goes live. So you got 8 months, 9 months. If they can't get shit out, and this is Bungie, okay? If anyone should know how to get new content out, like new maps out for a first-person shooter, it's Bungie. Because of Halo for years, okay? So if they can't do that shit, you know Joe Blow over here is fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And, we're all just supposed to. I just find it funny that, like you said earlier, that these companies are surprised when the game fails. It's like, it's like Multiverse could have been great if it was just a game that sold for $60.
What, Multiverses?
Yeah.
That was the WB game?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Smash Brothers clone?
Yeah. I mean, the game actually did look kind of fun. It's just, I didn't like the business.
It was free to play and it had microtransactions. If they just said this is a $50 game, you play it to unlock it, it would have been good. But apparently it did well enough that they're doing a new sequel. But, or is that, no, that's Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Nickelodeon's doing a sequel.
Nickelodeon, but this one's going to be a single player game with like the voice acting and all this shit that should have been there.
Yeah.
Day one.
The game was like,
it was bare bones. It was fun. Mechanically, it felt like Smash Brothers with Nickelodeon characters. I'm like, oh, this looks like a mod for Brawl.
Yeah.
But
Nickelodeon or Viacom or whoever from because Viacom.
They went cheap. Yeah, they were like, oh, well, we'll just do, and then they added the voice actors. But it's like, if I'm playing Ren and Stimpy and I don't hear someone doing a decent Ren or Stimpy voice, it's like, it makes no sense that they aren't saying their catchphrases. Or Rocco, Spunky.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Mr. and Mrs. Bighead.
exactly. Yeah, 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 exactly. And it's just it's just obnoxious that that wasn't out before. That wasn't in the game right away. It's like
Yeah.
you couldn't. I mean, Viacom, you have more money than God. You couldn't fork over another million for voice acting. No.
The thing is like they wouldn't even had to use voice acting. They could have just cut a check to the original voice actors and used clips from like taking the clips. Because if you played Destroy All
Exactly.
Humans 1, the remake,
Yeah.
that game uses they didn't re-record all that shit. They basically went and they got the audio from the old game and they didn't clean it up very well because I guess they ran out of money. Because when you can hear the
Yeah.
characters talking, it has an echoey quality that's a lower quality audio.
Yeah.
Now the second game, I think they had more money, so they could clean up the audio, so it sounds better. The audio quality, the vocal quality. But I mean, like people just whatever. I don't care. I'm done.
Yeah.
Ultimately, all I'm going to say is this: people need to understand that these games, like this, is a publisher thing. Publishers, you need to stop chasing easy money. Because when you think money's easy, it's not. There's always a hidden cost you're not factoring in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is all of them. I don't care who the publisher is. Stop trying to always get easy money.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's what they want. They don't want to have to make it. They don't like. They were bitching about making. Going back to Boulder's Gate. It's like they don't want to have to spend 6 7 years on a game. It's like you don't have to spend 6 7 years on it. Make something smaller.
Here's what you do,
They're too afraid to
okay?
make they're too afraid to make something smaller.
If you have a studio of 150 people, take 30 of those people and have them make a single A or B grade game that they can finish
Yeah.
in 18 months to a year, to 2 years. Put that out at $40.
Yeah.
Have a solid concept, keep the budget under control, and then you use that to fund your AAA game. If you have a game development cycle of 6 years with your main team of 100 to 120 people working on your AAA game, and then 30 to 50 people working on your B single A games with that they can churn out every 2 years that are selling 10, 15 million a pop across all four platforms, you're going to make money and you'll be able to fund your AAA game.
It's
What is so hard about this?
I don't know. It's just like they were mad that it's like not everybody wants not everybody's like hoping that every game that comes out from now on is Baldur's Gate. They just want games Baldur's Gate 3. It's want games that have the quality. Like it'd be nice to just buy a $60 game and not have to worry about buying a season pass or microtransactions
But that's not
or
even a
any of that
quality
stuff
thing.
for like another year. It's just like
I mean,
yeah,
let's keep it 100%. The reason people like Baldur's Gate is that a studio who is good at making RPGs made an RPG.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's all people want. They just want people to make a good damn game that they're good at making, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Stop taking other people's shit and like, oh, well, I can't believe this doesn't work. I can totally believe it doesn't work because the studio, that's not what they're good at.
Yeah.
You know, um, you know, You know,
That's
to these publishers, developers are just like pieces of Lego that you use to build something. It's not like these people are special. These people are specialists. They are good at making certain types of content. That is their wheelhouse.
yeah.
It's like I'm not going to send a plumber to fix an electric issue.
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever.
But yeah, and then you got what the like people coming out with, especially the Fable game, and you know, putting a bunch of race car uh, developers to make the new Fable game. That was a pretty weird choice, and it's just
Yeah, and we still haven't really seen that game. Like
no,
everyone's like, "Oh no, no." I'm like, I still haven't.
I don't know, I don't know, just who knows? They might end up being like, yeah, you know what? We're just gonna scrap this game.
Nah, they put too much money in it now. They gotta see it through to the end. They gotta put something out.
Yeah,
You know. But the problem is that they literally put that game into they put that game. The problem is that they put that game in. Is that that game has been in development for so long, and they've spent so much money on it that at this point, it's like they're too far down the road to turn off. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like they missed the last exit. They got to go all the way to the exit to the end.
yeah.
So I don't know what to say except that's the way it is. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic?
No, no, that's it.
All right, next topic. Mark Dara. Oh, we touched on this yesterday in the free topic, but we can keep it moving. The producer behind Final Fantasy Tactics, which is not a JRPG. Sorry, not just Tactics. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which is not a JRPG, by the way. Says he wants to do a new installment, but the time wasn't right. No, the fact is that those games bombed.
Yeah, I don't even know what those games are. I've never. I mean, I had a friend in what is it, elementary school, middle school, sometime around, who liked those games, but
What, the Crystal Chronicles games?
yeah,
I mean,
never
they
took
were
it to the
fine. Like if you're really into what's the word I'm looking for? If you okay, if you're into party games, it was a nice party game. But when I think Final Fantasy, I don't think party game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Why couldn't they make just a JRPG Final Fantasy game?
You want to know why?
That wasn't a mainline game.
You
Why
want to
couldn't
know
it just
why?
Why is that?
Because at the time, Square Enix owned like 30% of the company. Sorry, Sony owned 30% of Square Enix, and they were like, "You are not putting Final Fantasy on anything but a Sony platform, a mainline Final Fantasy game."
Crystal Chronicles could have been a JRPG, just not a mainline Final Fantasy. They could have been
Nope,
a side thing.
nope,
Couldn't have.
nope. That's why the only reason you got the old Final Fantasy games on the Game Boy Advance was because like the then CEO came back to Nintendo with his hat in his hand so they could get a license because they were losing money
Yeah.
because that fucking movie they made that didn't do shit.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII. They couldn't the movie, and they just didn't have a game that reached the same heights as Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, they've
At the time.
never they've never gotten that back. It's never gone back to that. You know why, right?
Well, I mean, at the time, Sony like shat out so much money for marketing for that game.
Yep.
Um, and they just haven't had that marketing fund. They haven't had that push. Not even Final Fantasy remake. I doubt that didn't have
No.
nearly as big as a push as the original Final Fantasy.
It may have sold more, but I don't think it was as profitable because Final Fantasy VII was cheaper. The original was cheaper to develop for.
Yeah.
Because remember, you don't have to do all those damn textures and shit and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder how many people are actually going to end up buying the second one.
The second what?
I've seen the second part because I've seen a few people who bought into the first one and is like, what the fuck? They're like, what the hell is this?
Well, because they changed the story. They're like, well, Eris doesn't die. It's like, yeah, but that's the start of Cloud Stripe's journey into not just being a memory clone of Zack Fair. Like it's the first thing where he actually made the choice himself, and it wasn't just him doing the bidding of Zack Fair.
Yeah.
So that's actually kind of important. No, fuck that.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy. Cause I watched a long form review on it, and it's just kind of like, especially when they got to the end of it, and I was just like, why, why did you do this? This is a parallel universe or a parallel time thing, and it is. Okay, guys. Okay, I guess.
It's an alternate universe.
Yeah, and then again, I've seen people who are ultra excited about the whole alternate universe angle of the game. Now, Zack Fair actually doesn't die. Eris doesn't die.
Yeah, but that kind of ruins the whole point of the plot of the game.
Yeah, but people want to have people want this, fan fiction. It's Final Fantasy remake. It's just a professional.
Yeah, it's
professional fan fiction.
It's like Star Wars. It's like the Disney Star Wars. It's professional fan fiction.
Yeah, so Crystal Chronicles. It's like who's asking for that?
Well, they made two games. They made the Crystal Bearer, and then they did Crystal Chronicles, and I kind of I was never like, oh my god, I love this shit. It's the best ever.
Yeah.
I was like, it's fine. It's fine for what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, oh my god, this is the best shit ever. I'm like, Actually, that's not true. I got Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the GameCube back in the day, and I actually beat it. And I'm going to tell you right now, while the core game, like, if they just said this is a Final Fantasy spin-off game, multiplayer, like our answer to Diablo, people would have understood it. But they marketed it as Final Fantasy Returns to Nintendo platforms. No, it didn't. No.
Yeah. They needed to widen, they needed to
lie.
Widen the audience of Final Fantasy.
No, they needed to lie.
Obviously, yeah, they needed because it wasn't doing, what it used to do on the PlayStation.
They lied. And I think the only reason that game got made is because Nintendo was like, look, we'll give you a license to put Final Fantasy on the Game Boy Advance because y'all need the money, but you need to put a Final Fantasy on our GameCube.
Yeah.
So, but they still weren't going to put Final Fantasy on the GameCube.
No. Yeah.
Because the GameCube only had like 10, maybe 11 RPGs.
Yeah.
Check this out. It's
And like half of them are really good. The other half, are forgettable. I'll put it that way. So, but anyway, yeah. But like I said, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, the base game is like a series of gameplay loops where you go into dungeons to get a crystal dew to put on your crystal tree in your main village that will basically prevent the fog that's basically enveloped the world and made it a shitty place to live recede. Now, what they don't tell you is that the reason this fog exists is because this alien creature from space landed in the world and released this miasma. And the game, actually, believe it or not, the game's actually pretty good. The story, the final boss is one of the most... I'm like, this is really good. The problem is that it's not what people expected, and people got real butthurt about it.
Yeah, it seems like that way about a lot of GameCube games. Like, people are hoping. That's the thing about the GameCube. It was like, it's the whipping boy back in the, when it came out, and then.
I mean, kind of, but there were some really good games on the GameCube. Like, some of the best versions of games were on the GameCube. Like, Resident Evil 4, the best version of that game in that generation was on the GameCube.
Yeah. This game doesn't look that bad. I'm watching gameplay of it right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, the GameCube version of that game is actually pretty good because the version that Square Enix put out in the re-release is even worse. Like, how do you go backwards? Oh, Square Enix.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of that happening where people just re-release their games and it's shittier than the
yeah. Like the multiplayer, the co-op has been taken out. So it's online multiplayer, but the problem is their servers are shit. So people are dropping all the time.
Yeah.
Everyone got that Grove Street Games GTA-itis.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to re-release a game, but it's going to be shittier than the original. Because I still have Crystal Chronicles. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
If you can get past the fact that it is not,
a traditional Final Fantasy.
A traditional Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
If you can get past that, you'll be like, oh, this is actually a good game.
Yeah.
You got to get past it, though. It's hard. It's hard to get past the fact that it's not a traditional Final Fantasy game. It's like, oh, man, this isn't what I signed up for, Johnny.
Yeah.
But if you can get past that, it's a legit... Like I said, some of the boss fights in that game are really good. Like, much better than they have any business being. It's like, this should be a terrible boss fight. This boss should be absolute ass. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's like, this actually works.
Yeah.
But that being said, there is a downside to the game, and like I said, that's that Square Enix just kind of when they re-released the game, they actually made it worse than the original. Which how do you step backwards like that? I'll never understand. Um. Anyway, I guess we can move on to the next topic that you decided to add. Um.
I don't know if
So
you got a chance to watch the video.
what?
Um,
Oh, okay.
uh, I don't know if you. I didn't know if you get a chance to watch the video, but
I
apparently
started
there's
watching it, and then I saw it was from Richard from Review Tech, and I was like, it's like,
the, the problem is the problem is right. This was one person, writing a thread about their experiences working at Linus Media Group.
mm-hmm.
Um, so you know, take it with a grain of salt. But sounds like this person, underwent some abuse at when she was working for the company,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it, like a lot of it, sounds pretty bad. Um, but again, this is just one person coming out. So um, some of the things she uh, she mentioned was like these every time she had an issue uh, and went to management about something, she's either called a tattletale or they would insult her. Um, they overloaded her with work. Uh, she's like the social media coordinator, and they overloaded her with a lot of tasks, which was biggest problem is that they because even if you go watch the Gamers Nexus video, they made some very serious mistakes. For example, they they test fitted a unique uh, liquid cooler to the wrong card, and you can't do that. It was specifically designed for a 4090, but I think they put it on a 4080 instead. Um, and it was a prototype, and so the company that wanted their prototype back because they had a deal to get the prototype back, tried to get it back, and what happened was that at their big conference thing that they have every year,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they auctioned it off, and they auctioned off the prototype uh, um, liquid cooler plate for a graphics card, and so it just disappeared, and now that company is asked out because that was their best prototype, and they were trying to get it back so they could send it to other people and get and there's just some other shady things too that's going on with there was a mouse review that they had that they didn't take off the plastic stickers of the feet, and they were like, "Oh, this mouse is terrible. It's rough against the mat," and it's just like I'm just listening to the thread, Richard Review Tech reading off the thread, and I was just like, possibly could be something to this. You know, I'm not saying everything in there is probably true because there is some he said she said stuff that gets brought up, but it was kind of like, man, what's going on over there? what are you guys do? What are you guys doing over there?
Like I said,
It's gonna
I
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how many other people come out
yeah,
uh, and say something.
like I said,
So
I saw it, and I was like, okay, this has been a thing because I know these news sites tend to what happens is one big news story and they all start piling on. So I'm not gonna say it's multiple amounts of evidence. If it's the same shit being repeated, that's not multiple things of evidence. It's just multiple people saying the same damn thing. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
what I will say though, like I said, is when I see Rich of Review Tech, like, I really don't like hearing shit from that guy because he's a drama whore.
Yeah.
And I don't like.
Yeah.
I look, listen. People need to know this channel. I do not like drama. Okay?
Yeah.
If you got
Yeah.
drama, take that shit home. Go watch a Shakespeare play. Go watch Tyler Perry. I'm not interested. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was an interesting update to the situation.
I mean, it's fair. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying, you know, I'm like at this point, I'm gonna hold judgment until I get more information.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I feel about it. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, you know, until, you know, the mother load drops, until, you know, more people come out, um, you know, reserve judgment. Uh,
I'm holding
but,
back
yeah.
judgment until I see some shit where I'm like, okay, like if it's like that shit with Bill Cosby where like 73 women came forward, I'm like, okay, 73 women came forward, and statistically, most women who come forward who've been sexually assaulted or raped, for every one woman who comes forward, there's like 10 women who had the same thing happen to them, didn't say shit.
Yeah.
So 70, I'm like, okay, that's a lot of fucking women that didn't say anything
Yeah.
statistically. So at that point, I'm like, okay, someone did some shit, okay? But
Yeah.
one person, oh, they were rude to me. They called me a tattletale. They gave me too much work to do. It's like, yeah, that's what happens at businesses. That happens in businesses. They give you too much work to do.
Yeah.
And typically speaking, they only like most small businesses only hire one social media manager, not realizing that's a full-time job, and you really should have a team of people being your social media managers. Like the social media team, like maybe like 8, 9, 10 people. If it's a company of like 100 to 200 people, you need like at least 5 people to manage all that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. They just need to be. They just need to be organized
Yeah,
more, or organized. Maybe, you know, chill with video output, because sometimes they put out. I mean, they put out daily videos, and it's just kind of like maybe put something out a couple times a week. You know, slow down the how much, because everybody know, like everybody who follows, who's in the uh, tech sphere online, knows who Linus Tech Tips is. So you gotta play with putting out a video a couple times a week. You know, if that means the
it seems
videos
like they
are
have a
better
video coming out
quality.
every day.
Yeah,
Every
yeah,
goddamn day, because I'm subscribed to them like every day. I'm like, God damn, dude, when do you
yeah,
sleep?
yeah. It's like if they put out less content, they could take time to make it better quality. Because, you know, that was another problem, is they kept happening to put footnotes in their video because they didn't they didn't put in the time to edit, you know, some of the mistakes out. Because obviously when you're because they're obviously not all their videos are them just reading off a script. So when you're going off the cuff, sometimes you just say something that just isn't right. You know, you gotta cut and do it again. So, you know, or edit it out, and
Yeah,
you know, so it's just they came out with a video about the whole thing, and they said, you know, basically said it's like, yeah, they're gonna chill. It's just gonna put out videos when they're actually saying they're taking a break. They're going on hiatus to try to figure out their workload, figure out their scheduling and stuff like
I
that.
mean, but the real issue isn't the amount of videos. The real issue is that they've got too few people making too many videos, and they're not dividing up the workload.
Yeah, that's probably it too.
Because if
Yeah.
they have what 150 employees,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm pretty sure they're a media group. That's all they do is the videos, right? So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
so, then they should have like 10 teams of 15 people each, or let's say 10 teams of 10 people each working on videos, and then the other 50 are just doing the back end stuff to make sure all that shit is, you know, kosher.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, what do I know? I'm just some guy. Don't listen to me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like what the hell do I know? I'm just some guy. You know. Anyway, yeah, that's what I would do. But that's my own personal opinion. That's a logistics issue.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Anything else you want to say before we move on to the next topic, sir?
No, I'm good.
All right, we're on the free topic or unpopular opinion, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
This is where we mention we bring up something that might not be popular, or you know, we just have an idea, and someone's like, "Oh, well, why'd you say that?" It's like I had to say it. Needed to be said. So with
You
that
know
being,
one.
no, go ahead, sir.
Oh no. Oh, I was gonna say. One thing I like about Final Fantasy VII, aside from the music, is the
No,
fact that the main character starts out at level 7, and the reason I like that is just because
you don't have
there's
to do all that grinding.
well, it's not that. It's just like I mean that's part of it, but it's like this character has had past military experience, and it's just kind
Well,
of weird where you have
not
a
really. He
character.
stole that from Zach Fair, but I get what you're saying.
But I mean, yeah, yeah. But it's weird when a game where you start with your main character has like past military experience or
Yeah, you
has
shouldn't
a
be
history
starting
of
at level
fighting.
0.
Yeah, it starts at level 0. That's weird.
Yeah,
Uh,
or level 1.
versus level 1.
Yeah,
It's like this character has like a history. Why are they starting out at level? Okay, I don't know. I just find that interesting. It'd be kind of interesting if more games played around with something like that.
I mean,
I know you don't want to. I know you don't want to make the game super easy.
well, no, because
Uh,
Final Fantasy. The problem with 7 is that there's some difficulty spikes in that game. That if you grind to get over certain tough enemies, by the time you get to the final boss, he's a joke. Like
yeah,
Sephiroth, if you grind to beat the Emerald weapon, Ruby weapon, like those dudes, by the time you get to Sephiroth, it's like this fucker's a joke.
yeah,
I'm afraid of this guy for real.
yeah,
The game's not very well balanced. Is my point. It's not very well balanced at all. Um,
yeah,
but it's kind of a good thing though,
yeah,
because RPGs are all about that power fantasy of you being more powerful at the end of the game than you were at the start.
yeah,
Like if I'm playing an RPG and I'm not more powerful at the end of the game than I was at the start, then that game doesn't really work. Unless you're playing
yeah,
something like The Longest Journey, where The Longest Journey is a reverse RPG with a very interesting premise. Basically, the start of the game, you just defeated the big bad, but he hit you with a critical curse that's slowly killing you. And so basically, as your character tries to get back home to die, with his family, you're getting weaker the entire time. So by the end of the game, if you don't hurry your ass up through the enemy encounters you have, getting back to where you have to go, um, like your character's like level 1, and everything can
Yeah.
kill you. it's
Yeah.
it's kind of like, god damn. But that's more like a concept game than an actual, game.
What game is this?
The longest, I think it's The Longest Journey or The Way Home. It's some shit like that. But it's just one of those games where it's like, okay, I was not aware of this. That is a very interesting thing where your character is losing levels as you get farther into the game.
That's interesting. I've actually had an idea for something like that, but it's like, how do you make it? How do you make it so
It's enjoyable, fun to play.
enjoyable?
You'd have to make it a narrative adventure where stats don't really matter.
Yeah. 'Cause I was thinking, I had an idea of a game where basically the game kind of starts out at the end.
Hola, tengo personas cerca.
Has where the main character essentially is let vengeance completely take a hold of him, and it's turned him into this really powerful monster. And the concept is to try to get your humanity back. So you essentially have to, essentially it'd have to become weaker. You'd have to give up your power to slowly over time to get your humanity back. It's an idea I had. It's an idea I kicked around in my head like a few years ago.
Well, that sounds interesting. That could work.
Yeah.
That could work.
And in order for you to the way the way the game would be enjoyable is that you would have to get these party members, try to befriend these party members so they can help you get your humanity, essentially help you get your humanity back. So it's not like, when you lose your powers, you're not you're not hitting brick walls near the end of the game. But yeah.
I can understand that. Totally understandable. That sounds good. That sounds interesting. I've read some books where they do that, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, to each his own. For me, my unpopular opinion is that gamers need to calm the fuck down and stop being. They need to stop just accepting anything. Actually, be like, stop buying shit as soon as it comes out. Wait, look at the pedigree of who this is. And if you're not going to do that, at least be aware of the flaws and issues of the people coming out with that game.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting what's it called? Starfield. I know it's probably going to be a buggy, glitchy piece of shit.
Yeah, it probably is gonna be. I'm not. So I have Game Pass. I don't have to feel bad for buying it.
No, I'm gonna buy it because Game Pass. You're renting the games. I just want to own the shit so then I can do whatever the fuck I want to with it.
Yeah. I'm gonna play it on Game Pass for a while until I see if it's something I really see if it's something I'm gonna sink time into, and then if I do, I'll probably just pick it up on Steam. That's probably how I'll handle it.
But that's my own personal opinion. Some people will agree or disagree. You know, to each his own. But anyway, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Anything you want to add to unpopular opinion, hot take, whatever?
No, I'm good.
All right, that's in the podcast. And we ended it at exactly 8:30. That's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. We will have another cast tomorrow at or not tomorrow, next week, same time, same place, 8:30 to 7:30 to 8:30. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. If you want to be a part of the channel, you can reach me at mrredfoxbsbuster at gmail.com, or you can reach me at Discord. Sorry. There it is. You can reach me at Discord. So, yeah. That's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, and play your games.